But now that note they've almost made it sound just as unresolved as the rest of it. This song is like one big passing tone musically. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. John the Fisherman was the debut single from Primus. In fact, it was their very first offering to the world and was actually part of a live album called Suck on This, released in 1989, and then was later on their debut studio album, Frizzle Fry, released in 1990. This whole time in my head, I was remembering that Sailing the Seas of Cheese was their debut, and I thought this song was on it. I think I read it was their major label debut, and I just remembered debut, but I haven't checked out this album yet, their first studio album. We're going to go all the way back to the earliest iteration of the band with John the Fisherman. I've had a lot of requests for this one. This song is apparently part of a larger thematic story called The Fisherman's Chronicles that ties in songs from this album all the way through 2011's Green Naugahyde, which we will get to in time. So before I go further through Primus's catalog, I want to take a quick detour back to their earliest album with John the Fisherman. That's abrasive. On a boat. So this is the earliest iteration of the band, and they quickly had this sound from the get-go. I mean, this contains all of the things I always talk about in these Primus videos. The chromaticism, you can't really find where the tonal center is, you can't find where the key is. But I have to say, this might be one of my favorite tones, bass-wise, I've heard from Les so far. We've done songs from Sailing the Seas of Cheese, Pork Soda. I left off with Tales from the Punch Bowl, like I said, coming back to the first album because I thought I already covered it. But this is a really punchy, just big tone. Normally his tone can have a bit of a thin quality to it, which is kind of part of his sound and allows a lot of the intricacies to kind of shine through, but this has some weight to it. They're on a boat, John the Fisherman. I've learned not to read too far into the song titles and the lyrics. In fact, I was reading earlier that this is just about fishing. Les grew up, I think his dad took him fishing. That's all there was to it. But we're already in this kind of chromatic road circling around. It's very atonal. Let me keep it going. Love that cheesy kind of animation. Just, it works for them. Okay, so that tonal bit going up in half steps sounds like it started on B. Just very atonal. It's all kind of like one big passing tone. And the things I've noticed in some of these earlier Primus songs is that they play really well with dissonance. Talked about it a lot. They have normalized dissonance for me by this point, so I'm fully expecting to hear what I'm hearing. But they're kind of using it in a different way so far. I'm going to let it go a little bit before I make this claim, but kind of flicking bass power chords here. Just a beefy kind of sound that kind of makes you uncomfortable, leaning into that chromaticism. Let me hear this first and see where this goes, but really unsure opening musically. Where are we going to land? The guitar. Looks like a fun video to put together. Okay. What I meant by a chromatic and passing tone is that when you do a passing tone on bass, it's usually to go from point A to point B, and you use some chromaticism just to kind of fill the space in the allotted amount of time. So if I'm going from like A down to top A, you might do something that's very typical like this. So you're going from here up to here, and you're kind of using these chromatic passing tones to kind of link them together. But what they're doing kind of with this main riff and less is that he's not really landing on that top note, because I hear them putting in that D every now and then. So this sounds like kind of the target note, but they're really leaning into just the first 3 notes before it. So it would be akin to me playing the sequence and you just wanting that resolve. You're like, damn it, Mark, just play the A. You want it to resolve, and I feel like they're playing with that side of tension and release. You know, normally they can play these tritones all day, which is a tense interval. They use this a lot. They've normalized it for me, but they're not giving me the resolve, which is kind of a different thing I haven't heard in the previous songs. But this has the staple of what I've come to know as the Primus sound. Weird. You know, Larry's doing these, again, jabs of colors, the kind of the term I've been using, just sliding up, hitting these kind of random notes that probably fit in a scientific method, madness, mad scientist kind of way, but it just amplifies the whole craziness of their compositions. And he looks so young here, it's interesting to see. Let's keep it going. Love his hair back then. And I actually love the way his strumming looks. Looks very wide and kind of exaggerated. This shot right here. Oh, that was a badass drum fill. I've given so much accolade for Tim, Herb Alexander. Southbound Pachyderm is still one of the favorite songs, one of my favorite songs I've heard in terms of the drum performance of Primus. But that drum fill was just... yeah. Okay, watch Les's hand here. I love the way he's strumming it. Yeah, this big kind of open swinging thing where he's kind of landing the thumb kind of as a fulcrum point. It's almost like the floating thumb technique. Kind of have your thumb mounted to kind of mute the strings or just have some sort of reference focal point, fulcrum point, if you will. But he's kind of strumming like that and just letting the thumb hit. This really smooth movement. And in other videos, I've done some live videos. In fact, when I did Tommy the Cat and Jerry was a race car driver, I did live videos here on the channel. And his strumming seemed a bit more tight and succinct in terms of hand position. Kind of like this thing. But he's got this big wide open strum. I know it's a music video, but just maybe that was his kind of more intense way of strumming back then. I only know what I know. Let's keep it going. Yeah, it just looks cool. There it is. That still wants to be kind of the target note for me. I want them to resolve it on. But now that note they've almost made it sound just as unresolved as the rest of it. This song is like one big passing tone musically. That's where I'm at so far. Woo, what was that? Gotta see that again. Like a little triplet hammer-on thing where he just plucked the beginning of each triplet note. I don't know if those are the right notes. Something like that. Just a cool little lick. What a powerhouse drummer he is. I did not even see a damn whammy bar. Did I miss that? This isn't like potato quality from back then. I didn't see it earlier. I want one of those. I want a whammy bar and a bass. I haven't seen many of them. I know they exist. I don't know how I would use it. Maybe I could just learn this song and that would be my introduction. Okay. Is that John? Sorry to stop so much, but they're finally putting in some interesting shots of Les. I'm looking at his kind of hand position here, where he's jumping from a traditional fingerstyle plucking with the floating thumb, then quickly kind of transitioning. He's just fluidly A-Bing these two techniques here, really seamlessly. Right here. So I've had some time to listen to the vocals now, and he has sang more complicated things over bass lines. I would say this bass line's still pretty complex. Even if it's going up and riffing on that half-step chromatic thing I've been talking about, just the seamless switching of the techniques, kind of seeing it from this angle, kind of above, that takes some really sharp muscle memory. But I find the vocals actually kind of going along with the rhythms. Usually the case with Les is that he has this auctioneer rapid fire kind of delivery that doesn't line up with anything in the bass. And a lot of you in the comments have told me that Tommy the Cat was like his first big learning hurdle to really separate and compartmentalize both the vocals and the bass, with as complex as the rhythms are for each. So maybe back then, this was kind of pushing his threshold on what he could sing, speak, say, whatever you call his style, over his already complicated bass lines. And I think the most challenging thing about this bass line is the seamless switching of techniques, because he's not doing a strumming motion on the single notes. Just those top three chords. Then he switches back, whatever those notes are down there. But you wouldn't want to strum the single notes, and you wouldn't want to just pluck or pop. So he's kind of mixing two articulations in the same phrase. He has a way of making them pop, and it's simply what technique's behind it. It's like he picks the best technique possible to make the bass line pop as much as possible. Fingerstyle and single notes, strumming the chords, and weaving it all very smoothly into a single line. I just love the tone on this song. It's like one of the most succinct choruses I've really heard from this band. Calling John the Fisherman. Kind of heavy. So once again, I thought Sailing the Seas of Cheese was the debut. I thought this song was on it. I'm glad I caught this reading about them, because I felt obligated to go back and make sure I had something from the first album before we continue with the Brown album, which is where I left off. I'm going to do something really simple in this video. Let me know what song from the Brown album I should do in the comments below, and I will solely pick the next song based off whichever one I see most. There's thousands of Primus requests scattered around this channel. I'm going to make it easy for myself to pick the next song. I've left off with Tales from the Punch Bowl. We're going to move on to their later 90s releases, which I'm excited to hear because I've noticed that their songwriting has evolved. It started with this sound, which is kind of what I think of when I think of Primus. Quirky, atonal. What's going on? I don't know what to think. I'm just along for this quirky roller coaster ride. And as we got through kind of Pork Soda and the two songs I did from Tales from the Punch Bowl, their songwriting made a bit more sense to me, and I kind of get it now. So it's good to go back and hear this. They really played with chromaticism and dissonance in an interesting way, and I love that bass tone. But we're going to go forward, and I'm going to keep working my way through their discography. So thanks to all of you who have requested this song easily over the past 18 months or so. Glad to get to it, and that's been John the Fisherman. And as we go forward, I'm kind of intrigued about this Fisherman's Chronicles thing. I don't remember what songs and what albums they were, but 2011's Green Naugahyde apparently has one tied to this. So I'll have to dive into that when we get there. But thank you guys for hanging out with me today. If you'd like to support this channel further, please come find us on Patreon. I do full album reactions over there. I have tons of bass lessons and other resources. And if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I love you all. Primus sucks. We'll see you next time.